we have the tools, as I said, we have the mechanism, and we work with, within the framework that was put in place by the Security Council.
Task force basically is the UN agencies, UNICEF, the HCRC's office. It could include sometimes WFP, it could include OCHA, it could also NGOs. It could include. So we set up, it depends on everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll stop here so that you will have enough time with the Chairman Agar. If you have additional questions, feel free to send them to me. I will liaise it with also the office of Mrs. Zeroubi. Now, the second sequence with the Chairman Agar. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, they are.
They don't have energy for me.
No, we did not. Because they are still trying to get information, so please.
Who is speaking?
Just to continue, good evening all of you. Thank you for coming. We will count also on your dissemination of this action plan, which is part also of the implementation process. Beside me, the chairman of the SPLM, North Sudan, Mr. Mario Agar, and I am Muhammad Yassin. Have been seconded him to this initiation for the finalization of the implementation plan, and I will be moderating this press conference. So you, before taking questions from you, I would love that the chairman will deliver a brief speech, just to tell you in brief what happened and what is this action plan. And then he will not talk a lot because we have been discussing a long time, but he will be welcoming willingly your questions. Thank you.
Members of the press, I thank you and welcome you to this press conference. The occasion was signing the document for protection of the children with the UN agencies, and especially with the representative of the Secretary for protection of children in conflict areas. It was a document complementary for other documents, and it is constructed in a way that it has taken into account the previous activities done towards releasing of the children in the war conflict areas which were there, and it is has also embodied in it plan of action and implementation modalities of this issue. So this is in short what we have done. We are in the SPLM. We are very much committed to this document, and we are going to implement it with the agencies concerned. And, as you know, that children in the conflict areas, it is not actually a willing practice to happen there, but sometimes due to circumstances that actually warrant them to go to this. And it's not a problem by itself, it's an effect of the problem, because the problem lies in the conflict. And since there is a conflict, it's effect of the conflict. So the solution always lies in resolving the conflict. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please, any one of you, just his name and the affiliation of the press.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lisa Schlein, Voice of America. I have a few questions for you. The UN is very happy indeed that you have signed this action plan. First of all, could you give us some numbers as to how many children you currently have and that will be part of this action plan and implementation that you will eventually release to the Sudan Task Force, as was explained to us. And then when is it, the UN was talking about that the implementation or the action plan has begun immediately, but that they need to get access to the Yuba Mountains, to your area. When will you facilitate their access to the region so that they can actually begin the demobilization of the children? And then I would like you to know, what is it that made you decide to sign this agreement with the UN to participate in this action plan? What tipped it for you? Thank you.
Well, thank you about as far as the number of the children that in concern, the report of the Secretary General Department for Children Protection in 2012. In the annexes, we found that the number of the children that were there for listing, there were 11. This is what is in those report. And in the report of the last report of the same organization, the number reduced to 4 because some of them are not there. Of course, this number came about, I believe, on the process of their own reports and investigation. We were not made aware of it. We only found it on the document that we are listed because there's a number of 11 children who were conscripted to the military in our movements.
So that, excuse me, sorry. I didn't hear the number of the actual reports.
The number is, there's 2 reports. The report in 2012, the number was 11 children that were 11. 1. And now the last report, the annexes, is appeared the number of 4 children. But the number is, the problem is not the number, whether it's 1 or 10, that's not the problem. The problem is the principle that the child, whether 2 or 3, whatever number, that deserve not to be subjected to hazard and his life subjected to difficulties and combat areas. I think that is a matter of principle, not a matter of number. This is as far as the children are concerned. The issue of the access, we have never denied access. No. It is Khartoum government that for the last 5 years in the 2 areas, southern Beloon Island and southern Kurdufan and also Darfur, is denying this access for the last 5 years. But we have never denied any access. We have tried actually with the UN organizations and the concerned organizations that all access to be open. And in Darfur, for example, you have the UNIMED there, but the UNIMED is not even allowed to move 5 kilometers from their camps. And Tabat is the testimony for that when the issue of the mass rape in Tabat. UNIMED could not do that because they have no access, they are not given access to go to the city. So the access, denial of access is from Khartoum, is not from us. We are open. We have nothing to hide, and we are telling the UN today, yesterday, tomorrow that you are welcome to our areas. This is why we signed it, because this document presupposes that the UN and the other agencies that are going to be implementing areas, they are going to go into our areas, and that we are talking about it. So the access is not a problem, and facilitation of the access is not a problem for our side. But again, sometimes UN would want to, because we are non-state actors, so they would want to respect sovereignty of a certain state where the conflict is. And this is a problem. This is a general problem faced by all the non-government, non-state actors. And we are facing, we are not indifferent in this one. So that's a problem. They would want to respect the sovereignty of state because the state is a member of the UN organization. For that matter, the mandates of these UN and UN agencies comes from the UN, of which the system the system of today in a certain area is part of that one. I believe that's the difficulty and the dilemma that they are fighting. Even though the laws, Geneva Conventions and others also spell it clearly that there is sometimes under some circumstances and conditions that they could intervene without the consent of the parties. But this one doesn't happen. Maybe it happened only in Syria, but in other countries it didn't happen. But it is there, the clause is there, and the mandate is there for them. But I think implementing it is difficult.
I asked you why it is you decided to sign on to the action plan.
That is a very simple question because, first of all, issue of the child protection. It is actually it's not an effective problem of today. It was always there since time immemorial, since the creation of the human race. And we are here, most of us here, I believe, they are dads and moms. It is an obligation and instinct that we protect our infants. And to protect that one, you need sometimes mechanisms in place. And we need the involvement of an organization like the UN because sometimes it's resources. And you put mechanisms in place, and then you have the gaps. Then you need an organization that can fill the gap. And we believe the organization like some UN organization like Child Protection, with the resources they have, will benefit from the resources actually to fulfill the obligation that is supposed actually to be ours, not them. And that is why we signed it, because we wanted a partner with us to do this.
Yes, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Laurent Siro, Swiss News Agency.
Your name, please, and
Laurent
affiliation.
Siro, Swiss News Agency.
Okay.
Yeah. Two follow-ups on that. The first is, I want to be sure to understand, are you saying that the government might prevent the UN to get an access to some regions to monitor your implementation of the action plan? Is it what you're suggesting? And the second part is, you said it's an obligation to protect the children, and you mentioned at the same time reports from the UN. Does that mean that you didn't have control or input on how many children were inside your troops? Didn't you know how many children were really inside your troops? And you're the chairman, and at the same time you say we have to protect the children. So why did you wait for the action plan to start doing that action?
Oh, well, the government, it's not my suggestion that I'm suggesting the government may prevent the UN. It is actually, this is what has happened, and this question should have been answered by Madame Lena Zarou because they are more experienced of what government does to them more than me. But what is clearly known and observed is that the government doesn't give access to the UN organization to go into this area, therefore Southern Kordofan, Southern Blue Line. As far as the children is concerned and the number of the children that in our troops, I'm not here because whenever you are in a court of action, then you need somebody to also refute you what you are saying. The UN said you have 11 children. We were not there when we were listed. We are not consulted when we were listed. We are not asked this is to verify whether they are children or they are not children. But as I said, this is a disadvantage of being a non-state actor, where you are always sentenced in absentia that you have done this and that. But again, also that's a bygone. We have again to delist ourselves from this list, and then we comply with what is there, which is actually an obligation. We have a law, what we call the SPLM Act 2003, and one of the clauses that, and I believe that is 9B, that says that recruitment of children, people or minors under 18 is prohibited by this law. This is since 2003, it's not today. And this is 2003, UN didn't have these things. So we did that before even put this one. What is the UN put in other laws, it is actually reinforcing what we have already, at the conviction, we have already went into it.
So that means that you didn't manage to implement that between 2003 and now, because there were still some children remaining.
Let me reiterate this again. We were implementing that one, and this is why I don't want it to say explicitly that there is no children in this in our camps. There were always children around on these camps, but the question is: are they conscripted? Are they soldiers? Are they subjected to any act that put them in harassment? Because what does it mean? The combatant are fathers and mothers of these children, and so sometimes we have 1 million people who are staying in areas. We are a classical guerrilla movement that acquired territory, defend, and have administered people. When we're talking with, we are not like other guerrilla movements where we are mobile guerrilla movement. We actually control areas. We control area more bigger than Belgium and Luxembourg put together. So 1 million of the population. This million inclusive of children, maybe 60% are women and children. So we have schools for that. We have institutions of education. We have schools whereby these schools are recognized in East African countries, and they take the examinations and go to East African countries as part of the East African countries students. So we are implementing our obligations. But those of you and they have their own ways of putting this and reporting. We are not disputing it because they have to be there so that they say, no, this is what we want, and these are the mechanisms. Because I asked personally as early 2012, how did you reach this number 11, and how did the number come back to 4? These are questionable issues. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not in a court of law, but as an observer, you can see the violation 11-4. You have no justification to do it. But again, the concept is correct. Maybe the mechanism, the method of reporting and the method of verification is questionable, but the concept is correct.
Yes.
So I receive with this media, if there is any accountability if SPLM doesn't fulfill plan action.
So
Accountability mechanism?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, it is mentioned here. This document has tools of how to use it, way to implement it. Everything is mentioned. And this is an agreed mechanism of how to do it. And this is also dependent upon, now we are working jointly. But before that, when the UN was working their own way and we were working, now we are working jointly. So whatever is being written down, whatever we reach, that will be a joint report. And we agree here, every 3 months we will have a joint report, and their monitors, the UN monitors of this department, they will be with us there. We have a local points always, and our areas will be open, including the ministry, the military installations in our areas. Wherever we are, in Blue Mountains, in Blue Nile, in Darfur.
So you know, is it this French I have a question. How do you want to implement the accountability measures, meaning the disciplinary measures, sanctions to your files, to your men, to the ranks? If you don't know how many children are involved, if they deny any implication, it's kind of impossible to sanctions on money.
That was a different situation altogether. Now that the situation has changed. That is that we are going to do monitoring together with the UN agencies. And whenever we have already established that there is some sort of breach of this document and implementation, we have our own internal mechanisms of how to punish those the culprit who be involved in this one. We have laws, we are a system, we are a full-fledged system in these areas. So we have mechanisms for that. This is why we put them here.
Yes, please.
Alice de l'Agence France-Presse, AFP. Maybe a stupid question for you, but not on sugar, but in general, your group is fighting for what?
That's a long story. And I don't know really we have the time to answer this. But let me say that Sudan as a country is facing some sort of an apartheid system, religious apartheid and ethnicity apartheid and gender apartheid. And by so doing, when Sudan is pronounced as an Arab Islamic state, whereby if you come into numerical factor, you have the Arabs in Sudan are about 30%, and you have the Africans are about 70%. When it comes to Muslims, you have the Muslims about 60%, and then you have the non-Muslims are about 40%. Sudan is a multi-racial country. We have over 300 ethnic groups or tribes. We have about 150 languages in Sudan. In terms of religion, you have Muslims, Christians, traditional believers. So Sudan is so diverse, even in the color, in color, diverse in even the environment is even diverse in Sudan. But a small group of people who call themselves the Arabs, these are we call them also the immigrants of some 100 or 200 years back. But they came with an advantage of education, and they came with the colonial powers. They had means of subjugating others, and they took over the political power and the economical economic power and protected it. So they pronounced the country on their image, whereby others are neglected, and also laws and legislation and state mechanism have been used on, to favor this system. Yet this is now we are talking over 200 years. Apartheid and evil is happening in South Africa in the 40s, even in your countries here where there are divisions of people. But, so we are saying, our philosophy at the movement, we are saying, look, these problems are existing, this is not time ago. There's no way that you can say Arabism is going to unite Sudanese when there is about 70% are Arabs. Islam is not going to unite Sudanese when there is also 60% are 40% are non-Muslims. And we are saying that what will unite Sudan is Sudanism. Religion cannot unite us, ethnicity cannot unite us, Arabism cannot unite us, Africanism cannot unite us. What will unite us is Sudanism. So we are fighting to build a country based on citizenship. We have equal citizenship in Sudan. This is in a nutshell, but as I said, it's a long story. If we want to talk about it, we need books and days. I hope I explained this one in a nutshell.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
If there's no question, then I'm redundant. Thank you very much. I think Madame Leila grieved you and exhausted you. I thank her for the job well done.
Thank you very
Bernard, tu es toujours méchant.
Send me an email if you need I sent it to you, yeah, it's available now,
Ça va et toi? I know, I'll give you my email. Yes, you know. Yeah.